Yes.
All right. And are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool.
Good morning, Tim.
Morning, small group.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more people. I did get some email confirmations. So
Okay.
maybe they're just running a little behind.
Yeah, let's hope.
We only had 2 in our last meeting, which was for San Benito, but they had a lot of great information, so I don't feel that was a waste of time at all.
Awesome.
I'll take quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Hi again, Barry. You're a glutton for punishment. You're going for 2 days in a row.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mike. Tim's here 2 days in a row too.
That's true. Yeah. But he's
And
stacked.
how about you? You are a marathon man.
Yeah. It's kind of fun because I feel like you know, a lot of the work I do is pretty technical analysis kind of work. So it's fun to actually interact with people, even so virtually. And I'm learning a lot about this region. And we just had a call with San Benito County where they drive 90 minutes each way to work. All right. Well, I guess we should get started. Shall we get started? Got a few folks here. All right. Welcome, San Luis Obispo County. We are doing our focus group with you to get your input and suggestions and insights on the Central Coast Zero Emission Vehicle Strategy. My name is Mike Hewson. I'm the project manager from DKS Associates. We are the transportation engineers and planners who have been hired to lead a team to develop this really cool project. It's 6 counties, basically looking at the entire Central Coast to address the needs of zero emission vehicle transition for all 6 counties. As part of that, I want to talk a little bit about a few things. So before I do, though, I thought we should do a quick round of introductions. I've already introduced myself. Let's see, why don't we go around the table, starting with you, Tim.
Hi, all. Tim Gillum, San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. I'm here to listen in.
And Maya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maya from Santa Barbara County Association of Governments.
And Barry, 2 days in a row.
Yeah, Barry Rand's San Luis Obispo bicycle club. That's my other hat. San Luis Obispo Climate Coalition. And I'm the green transportation specialist in the group.
EVs and bikes, good deal. Ashley?
Hi, I'm Ashley Goldlist. I work with San Luis Obispo Air Pollution Control District. I run the EV charger program and you have some of the CEQA, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Excellent. We have some questions for you. How about Lucia? If I pronounced that
Hi,
right.
my name is Lucia, and I work for the City of San Luis Obispo in the Sustainability and Natural Resources Office as our team's analyst. And I'm leading EV charging infrastructure installation for on public property for public-facing purposes, and also supporting our fleet electrification and charging infrastructure work.
Great.
Lucia, I didn't know that. This is exciting. We need to meet.
I don't think I knew that either, actually.
I got the hot tea this morning.
I mean, we did meet last night, but we need to have a more extended meeting.
Okay. And last but not least, DKS staff, Sarah and Ilse.
Hello, I'm Sarah Sweet. I joined DKS fairly recently, but prior to that, I worked for a public utility for almost 7 years, about 5 of that doing transportation electrification work. So I'm very familiar with this subject matter, as well as working within the bounds of a public agency. So I'm excited to hear what you all have to say today.
right.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ilse Lopez. I'm a community engagement specialist with DKS Associates, and I'm doing the community outreach for this project. So thank you all for being here, and it's been nice to communicate with you all.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. We have a exciting presentation, very short. Most of today is actually talking about learning from you to find out what's going on so that we can inform this plan. So the agenda today is to really talk about the objectives. I want to bring everybody up to speed why we're doing this, talk a little bit about what we found so far in our existing conditions analysis, and then we want to talk about barriers and opportunities for EV adoption. So the objectives are 6, and these are part of the grant that funded this project from Caltrans. The first is to assess the existing zero-emission vehicle infrastructure, focusing especially on the unincorporated rural areas between the cities that experience significant interregional travel. So range anxiety is obviously an important consideration for Caltrans, and we want to make sure that the areas in the spaces between the cities like San Luis Obispo are getting their share of the charging so that travelers can get through that. And when I say travelers, the primary focus is probably light duty vehicles, but we're also considering the needs of regional transit as well as goods movement. So, we're looking at that. So, yes, we're looking from the perspective of an electric vehicle, but think about transit, think about trucks as well. The third objective is equity. Are we making sure that the chargers, actually the third and fourth objectives, are meeting the needs of disadvantaged populations that don't necessarily have access to at-home or at-work charging, where most of EV drivers want to charge? Underserved populations are very important for this project, and we want to make sure that those considerations are being taken into account. The fifth is to make sure that we're identifying appropriate potential investments, such as new charging locations, new charger sites, that we address appropriate policy language, implementation strategies as well, all to promote zero-emission vehicle infrastructures. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that this region is competitive for funding. And so, for example, there are probably other types of funding in addition to NEVI, which is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. Some of that may come from local utilities or the Air Quality Management District and others. So we want to make sure that the recommendations that are included in the plan help support funding. And I see Joshua joined, and we just did a round of introduction before you had a chance to join. So do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. Joshua Roberts with County of San Luis Obispo Public Works Department. I'm the Transportation Division Manager.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the call. So we have, as Ilse mentioned, she's our public engagement specialist, and she's put together this great website that has a lot of good information. The URL is up at the top of that, and hopefully Sarah or Ilse can add that to the chat. I would encourage everyone to go on there and take a look at this information. One of the things you may want to download is the existing conditions report. I'm going to talk at a very high level on some of the key findings of the existing conditions report as they apply to San Luis Obispo County. And but there's other information on here as well. And then we also have, in addition to the project website, which is essentially an information repository, we also have an input portal called Social Pinpoint. And this is an interactive mapping tool where members of the public and project stakeholders can make suggestions. And there's also some sort of high-level information about different kinds of charging technologies that are relevant to this plan. And this is what it looks like. So if you click on the map, it'll pop up this comment form that you can add information or photographs or suggestions. And it's a great tool, and take a look and you'll see what the stakeholders are adding, the public is adding to the suggestions. So our job as consultants will be to take all of this information from Social Pinpoint, from these focus groups that we're conducting, and from our own technical analysis, and develop a plan out of that. So let's talk a little bit about what we've learned so far. So this is a high-level overview of existing charging conditions within the 6-county study area. As you can see, San Luis Obispo County is second only to Ventura County in terms of the total number of level 2 chargers. You're not nearly as many DC fast chargers, with the exception of Tesla chargers. And you have the most Tesla chargers, both the Tesla destination and the Tesla superchargers. My understanding, I'm not a Tesla driver, but I understand that I think the biggest Tesla supercharger facility anywhere is located right in your county. And so maybe some of you are Tesla drivers and have used it, or have, I guess there was a big news story last year at Thanksgiving when there was a big queue up for vehicles trying to charge there. One thing to note about this data is that we've segregated the total chargers versus the ones within a mile of unincorporated highway interchanges. That is the NEVI standard. So we were hoping to position this project for NEVI funding, and NEVI is very much focused on areas close to freeways within a mile. That said, even without, those are the best locations to put high-powered chargers for interregional travel. So this is what the map looks like and where those chargers are located. As you can see, the green are level 2 chargers. The purple are sort of combined chargers, the orange being DC fast chargers only. And then Tesla is the big red circles, since Tesla is that's their logo, I guess, is red. This is a detailed screen capture from the existing conditions report showing where those chargers are located by type, both on the level 2 and the DC fast charger, as well as with their Tesla chargers. So again, if we were to take the key alternative fuel corridors, which are designated by the EPA, and we were to buffer the interchanges, that's what is shown here in blue. This chart also shows where the incorporated areas are. The reason being that we are focused primarily on the unincorporated areas, assuming those are the areas that have not had the same level of investment in charging. And as you can see from this chart and map, that is the case. So now we will switch over and talk a little bit about this project and where we can get input from you. But before we do, does anybody have any questions on either the goals of the project or on what we found from the existing conditions analysis? Okie doke. Let's talk about what you know and you can bring to the table. The first question is, what infrastructure investments that we may not know about are planned? So the data that we've shown you from the existing conditions primarily comes from the Alternative Fuel Data Center or from PlugShare or from Tesla, but you may have plans in place here in the county or in the local cities that we're not aware of that we should make sure that get addressed, because that context is really important to this multi-county planning project.
Yeah, happy to share a little bit about what the city of San Luis Obispo has planned. We're currently in contract with ChargePoint to do a zero cost lease model to the city, where ChargePoint is going to be, we're going to have ChargePoint chargers at least 3 locations throughout the city, with a focus on DCFC level 3 charging. And those locations are still getting vetted. So don't know if it is helpful to give tentative locations because we're not certain exactly where they're going to go, but we have a sense of likelihood. But more level 3 in the city of SLO is on its way.
So when you say level 3, do you know which speeds you're talking about? Are these 50s, 100s, 150 kW? What size chargers?
I'm not exactly sure what the final specs are going to be. I think it depends on how many ports versus total charging capacity and the infrastructure that they're going to select. We haven't gotten to the design stage yet.
Okay. What is the time frame of the project?
We're aiming to install the chargers by the end of 2023.
So when do you think you'll have sort of the locations and the charging types defined?
End of 22.
Okay. So then what I would request is, as soon as that's known, if you could share that with us, because I think that's directly relevant to this project. And by the way, congratulations for doing that. That's great. But yeah, what would be helpful to know is, where those are located and what type, because if we're going to be recommending chargers based on travel patterns, and we are doing a travel analysis, but if there's going to be charging, and I assume this is going to be within SLO city limits, right?
Exactly.
So we'd want to not be redundant with recommendations that are, relatively close to city limits. So that, let's say there's a truck stop or a rest area that's relatively close. That might be something we'd want to rethink and instead focus on areas where it's a little farther, since the best place to put charging infrastructure is where there's amenities for drivers so that they can do stuff while their vehicles are charging, use the restroom, get a cup of coffee if it's a 150 kW high power charger, or have a nice meal if it's only a 50 kW charger and they've got an hour and a half to charge while they pull their battery. So those are the kind of things that would be useful to know. So yeah, if you could share that with us, that would be great.
Awesome. Yeah. The two locations that seem most promising right now are near Santa Rosa Park, which is like the intersection of the 1 and the 101. And the second being near the Amtrak station.
Makes sense. Okay. So and then the other issue, of course, is level 2 charging. So is the level 2 charging going to be primarily for multifamily residential? Or is it going to be right of way charging? What's kind of the thought on that?
For the city?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now we are laser focused on increasing the amount of fast charging available to city residents and passers through. And we're also going to be developing kind of an equity roadmap in terms of what locations will best serve multifamily tenants, and finding out where those level 2 priority areas are going to be. But that's like probably a phase 2 starting in 2023.
Excellent. Okay, great. And you mentioned it's a no-cost lease. What exactly does that mean?
We will be leasing city property to a third party at no cost to them.
Got it.
They will be installing charging infrastructure. They will own and maintain that infrastructure. And we won't have to pay for that. And the big negotiation this is a really common model across cities in California, and we're figuring out, we will be in the contracting process that has a lot of clear rules and boundaries placed on rates and other aspects of how this service is delivered to the public.
So basically, from a business model perspective, you're the site host, and that's all. That's the city's role is simply to serve as site host, and then the vendor, in this case, the charge point, is their revenue comes from what they can sell the electrons for.
Yep.
Wow, and so basically they're doing an economic analysis to determine where it's going to pencil.
Yeah. Plus, there's definitely incentives and kind of government support that are available to help with their business model.
So will they be like Cali VIP funded, or do you know what other funding mechanisms they're going to be seeking?
I think there's, I apologize for not being as in the weeds as I should be on this, but there's some kind of like carbon credit funding that I think they're applicable for, and I forget the name of it right now. I'm sure Ashley knows because she's really good at this stuff. And we actually are not going to be pursuing Cali VIP. We pursued a project through that route and found that our vendor was like marking up prices beyond what was reasonable, and we're able to do it outside of Cal VIP for a cheaper price. Yeah.
So
can I interject a little bit? I think that's really exciting. I had been wanting to put I had been wanting to put level 2s at Amtrak, and I think level 3s are great too. And they're under contract already, so we couldn't get involved. We have to be already for our grant to work with them. We have to be in contract with the city or whoever their vendor is before. So our grant program would not work for their level 3s. But and I've always thought that a level 2 would make the most sense, since, at least from my perspective, people taking the train is like a sustainable transportation option. Maybe they're going away on the weekend to LA or Santa Barbara, or whatever. They leave their car there and, they can charge it on a, kind of a slower rate and whatever as they go away. I also know a couple of people even who work at the station who also, and I know Amtrak is interested in workplace charging as well. So I had been interested in working with the city. The city actually owns that. Yeah, I think Lucia said that too. City owns that property, not Amtrak. So I'd been hoping to put some, hoping for the city to apply for some funding. I'd emailed Chris Reed, but like right when I started, and city's been very busy. So I would love to do the level 2 on that when they
Let's
get
talk about
around
that
to it.
actually. I would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
sync with you before we get too far along with this charge
Yep.
point process on that site.
Yeah, no problem. So that stuff, I'd love to help you guys and potentially, I actually think that potentially we could fully fund it. And I'll get into that stuff later. I'd love to do that. But that's really exciting. And I definitely think that that area definitely needs chargers, and and yeah, so that's great news.
Fantastic. I'll send you a calendar invite for next week
Yep.
and we can
Yeah.
set up on.
And I don't know, forgive me, I'm still very new to this area. I have noticed it's helpful for me to know also in SLO where you're putting chargers as well. And I don't know, well, Lucia, did you have any more to say about City of SLO, of where you're putting chargers?
Not right now. I also just
Okay.
want to state that I think we've been keeping this kind of process under wraps as we just finished a pretty lengthy negotiations process with ChargePoint and have yet to confirm the owner operator that'll be the long-term contractual partner on this project. And we've yet to confirm which locations and the exact number of chargers. And so given the amount of uncertainty that we have right now, we were waiting to finalize those final bits before we shared with our partners. So wanted to let you guys know that we definitely were going to share this information, and you guys are just getting a sneak peek.
Well, thank you for giving us a sneak peek.
Can I ask real quick, Lucia, the Calle Joaquin ride and drive or park and ride site, that used to be one of the prime locations for fast charging, and whatever happened with that one?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't have more information.
I'm in talks with Caltrans. Is that Caltrans or is that city? Calle, the ride in.
Joaquin?
Yeah.
There's a
Kelly Joaquin is a city,
Okay.
city.
and they did have plans to install chargers at one time, but I think that fell through.
Well, we could probably fully fund that too, but that's another story.
So what we've been talking about really is an example of the response, one of the responses to question 4, what else can be done in addition to funding support? So, and for public agencies who are landowners to serve as site hosts, I think is a good example of that. So I'm kind of a little curious, what types of sites is the city using? Is this, are these right-of-way charging? Or is this in parkland? Is this at libraries or community centers? What kind of sites are you considering?
Publicly owned parking garages and parking lots.
Great, okay.
And ChargePoint is interested in getting into contact with private landowners and other types of entities that would want to come into a similar type of relationship. So I'd be happy to put you in touch with their West Coast kind of like regional manager, if that's helpful.
That would be great. I do a lot of work with ChargePoint, so I probably know her or him, but
Brendan O'Donnell.
Was that?
Brendan O'Donnell.
Brendan O'Donnell? Oh, I didn't realize he was at ChargePoint. Okay, sure, yeah. It may be a different Brendan O'Donnell, because the one I know is at Rivian, but maybe he moved on. So yeah, connect us. That would be great if you could.
Well,
It might be helpful to connect me with him as well, so I can explain our program so that they can qualify for incentives. Not maybe with the L3, but, and that might be a thing down the line.
great. Yeah, I think once we choose our
When it's more efficient,
owner
yeah.
operator partner, that'll be like investing in these infrastructures directly, it would make sense to put them in touch with you.
Yeah.
Can
Can
I-
I,
Can I put a
oh.
plug in for Climate Solutions Now conference? Brendan O'Donnell is one of our speakers. He'll be speaking at the conference October 28th. And you can sign up for that at Climate Solutions Now. It's a Cal Poly organized event.
Mike,
Is
can
that
I
in
bring up
person or
some
virtual?
locations?
Oh, please do. And if you want, you can even, you're welcome to share the screen. You know, here, you can have the screen if you want.
Well, part of this is just my knowledge and working with a lot of applicants and larger applicants. I know, well, I've heard that behind Target and next to the Tesla chargers and SLO, the Rivian chargers, superchargers are going in next to the Tesla superchargers. I didn't actually know that was a thing really until I heard about that. So that I think there'll be more superchargers there. And then I'm working on bringing some level 2 chargers with an applicant to Los Osos in the AB 1550 low income zone by Grocery Outlet. And we're working on an application. It's not set in stone, but I'm hoping because we don't have any, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 chargers in Los Osos. So that would be good to get 3 or more and try and encourage them to put some more in. A city in Morro Bay is putting some in. I think it's their boardwalk at 1205 and 1265. Let me see.
It sounds like you're reading from a list. Is that a list you could share?
Yeah. It's public information because they're public grants. I could share the list. Not right. Well, I don't have it on a list.
You don't have to do
But
it
yes,
today.
I could say it. Some of them, yeah.
So
Some of the larger ones, yeah.
yeah, this is Tim. Is that with the Cal EVIP South Central? No.
Nope. These are just mind grants.
Okay,
Sorry.
so SLOCOG did put up 250K for the Cal EVIP program with partnership with SLO APCD, and I'm not sure where those charges are going at this point. It was a rebate program from my understanding, and we have to remember that the CCZEVS plan, if you will, is specific to unincorporated rural areas. So
These are not Cali VIP ones. This is something separate, I think. And Vince is the lead on Cali VIP.
Correct.
I'm working on some slow transit chargers, but those are not public. I think the biggest one that I'm in development now is, and it might be a potential NEVI project, is in AG, Arroyo Grande at the Ford there, which is within a mile of the freeway. They want to put in some level 3s. They have a big lot there and they want to put in some level 2s, and it would be able to be public. And it's not in a AB 1550, but I think part of it I can do partially. I think we can fund part of it with our program, and maybe that can work for some of the co-funding for NEVI, and then NEVI can hopefully cover the rest. So we're going to start kind of exploring that, and maybe that could be something in the report. And what other ones do we have? We're hopefully starting to work on some multifamily homes chargers in the Atascadero. There's one multifamily complex that's in the low income AB 1550 zone. And yeah, so I think those are the big ones. I do have a list, which I will show you, that I've been starting to work on. Share. Can you see my list?
Yes.
So I've started to do create a contact list of, it's not that great, but a contact list, and I've developed it by kind of like our program sites of that are within our low income areas, because they can qualify for more funding and potentially for 100% funding with certain other programs. So here are some of the churches with big parking lots. It just so happens that certain wineries in the Adelaida area, kind of by Paso, also are in this in this higher funding area. I've started with multifamily homes. Of course, well, I've had some difficulties getting or having SLO and people self-help housing on board, but I have a contact of people self-help housing, and they're starting to get their chargers at their own workplace this year. So hopefully once they get theirs, they might be getting used to the technology. I'm making a list of parks, because parks also qualify for extra funding. Same with dealerships, hotels, stuff like that. So this will be, and I'll be sending like reoccurring things like that. And what I mean by, can you see this as well? So have you seen this map before?
So is this the Cal Enviro screen, or is this the Justice 40 map?
I think it's Cal screen. It's
Cal Enviro,
the, yeah,
okay.
4.0.
Virus
but-
screen.
Yeah. So, no, I'm in the wrong area. Watsonville, we're a little lower. So a lot of Cal Poly is in, a lot of it's because of the students. And so we have a lot of Cal Poly, there's some Los Osos, some Morro Bay. So here's the Adelaide, Paso. I've been trying to get more in San Miguel. Unfortunately, there's none in Creston. And I'm really, South County is something I'm really targeting. I don't even think there was Napomo previously. So these areas I'm really targeting. And I know Oceano is doing this whole redevelopment effort, or some kind of like tourism redevelopment effort that I'm really trying to get involved in and help with, like EV car shares and some kind of tourism and things like that. So these are really, this is kind of where I'm trying. So like what I do is like go through here and try to see what's here and how I can, you know, put funding in. So another big thing, the one other really big thing I'm kind of working on is with the county, but with Lucas. He's a fleet manager, I believe. And he and I have been working on putting chargers. We're working on a plan to fully fund chargers at, what do you call it? At libraries, at their work sites, everywhere pretty much. And we are waiting on, the county still working on this, I think this like EV study that they're doing. So we have to wait for the results on those. So they have like a direction, I think, that they can take to their county. But once they have it, I hope to spend a lot of money, because they, you know, they can do all of these. That's pretty much, I feel like, the only way I'm gonna get chargers in Napomo, because I haven't been getting any responses from anyone there, like putting them in libraries, parks, things like that.
And so who's the lead from the county on that study?
His name is Lucas. He's like a, what's his name? I just sent him. Janetsky. I've been having meetings with him and the head of libraries. He's the fleet manager from Central Services. And we've had like meetings all the way with their their accounting, their central accounting and real property services, people who would understand our grant program and, and really see and look. So we have a list of properties already, some in San Miguel, some in these really, in the areas we really want them to be. So that is my plan for really getting them in the most needed areas.
So with that, and it sounds like that would include areas outside of the SLO and other city limits. So I think, I think, Sarah, we should reach out to Lucas. Unfortunately, we
Yes.
didn't know about him, and he would have been good to have on today's call, but we can certainly do a follow-up directly with him.
Yeah. And I can send you some, yeah.
Great.
And maybe Annie, and also I think Josh Roberts is here too. He can, I don't know if I've spoken with him before, maybe probably have, but there's also Annie Seacrest who's doing this EV study that I'm talking about. So they're also involved. I mean, the EV study, I'm not sure what, I think it's, I'm not sure. I think it's their EV policy for charging, for how they would set up charging there. I think that's what it is. And so we can't, I think that's how they need to have this completed, and maybe before we are able to go ahead with our projects. But that's our approach for the rural and everything.
Excellent. Okay, so Sarah, did you capture her name?
I did.
I'll write them in the inbox or the chat.
Oh, thank you. Could you also provide their contact information?
Yeah, that's what
Awesome.
I'll do.
Thank you.
Excellent. By the way, Ashley, you're a gold mine or a lithium mine, maybe. Thank you for the insights.
I'm also in terms of equity, I'm working on developing an agricultural electric vehicle car share here. I have some experience doing this in the Valley, so I love electric vehicles and all of this stuff. So I know equity. I was working in Stockton, so I'm working as hard as I can to get this going. So thank you.
Can you share really briefly maybe the company that you're in conversations with around an EV car share program, or any other details about that?
Where I'm at with that is we need to do the outreach. There's not enough what I've realized is that we need to do at least maybe a year or two of outreach as a community to do that. We have a ton of outreach about not about bike share in general in this county, or cities, counties, whatever, but we don't have the same for a car share. So I'm working on right now we're preparing an application for a e-bike share lending project. So it'll probably be in the city of SLO, but just a lending project, because I think the city might eventually take the lead on a actual bigger project.
Yeah, we're going to be likely issuing an RFP.
That's what I
for
figured.
2023. Yeah, something to add to our agenda for our coffee next week.
Yeah, and so that's what I figured. So I figured that we would do something smaller, like a lending project that did more of the kind of. I will talk to you more about it later, but that would be one of them. I could also do it on electric vehicle car share, but I did this in the Valley, and I can tell Mike, I can also cite this, write this in the chat too, but those two are two really big projects. They haven't been done out here before, and they'd be huge. And that would help for the people that can't bike ride, maybe older populations or people who are mobility challenged. So that gets both people. So that's my vision.
Wow.
I haven't been here long enough. I haven't been here a year there, so I think I've been too eager though. So, but we'll get there.
I'm impressed. Hats off to you. That's great. Do you have any write-ups of some of these efforts? It would be helpful to.
Yeah, I have both, because I already did the projects. I have all my grant writing of them, so I can send them all to you.
Wow, that would be very helpful, because I think these are exactly the kinds of things we will include probably some, we want to make sure that there's resources. Again, your focus is very consistent with this project, with the exception of this project is focused primarily on interregional travel, but on the social equity side in particular. And also, I think you're doing a lot of really innovative things that I frankly haven't heard about anybody else doing. And, you know, my work is all over the West Coast, and I deal with a lot of very forward thinking places, but what you're doing is, even by those standards, very impressive. So well done.
So I'm from the Bay Area and in the Valley, this is all what they're doing. So I
So when you
I
say-
want to bring the same thing here.
Apologies, I'm from Seattle. When you say the Valley, is that the San Fernando Valley or the?
No,
San
I'm
Joaquin
talking
Valley?
about San Joaquin. Yeah, I know people
okay.
here talk about that, but I worked in Stockton for a couple of years where air quality is significantly worse and you need to have this kind of innovation. And there's serious disadvantaged population, environmental justice communities. So you need to have things like that. But the same kind of funding can be brought here as well. Not as much, but I happen to know where those funding are and I know how to leverage it so we can get it mostly fully funded. And I'm at the relationship building part, trying to be connected to the right people. I need city buy-in and stuff like that, but yeah, so it's gonna happen though. I just need time, so we'll get there.
We're also doing a project in San Joaquin for San Joaquin, SAQM. No, what are we doing for? San Joaquin Council of Governments.
Yeah, that's where I used to work. What project are you doing?
We're doing a project just like this, but for San Joaquin County, for San
Yep.
Joaquin County. So, and we're doing another one for Madera also. So also in the San
Yep.
Joaquin. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. All right. Well, wow, that was a lot of useful information. I want to make sure that other folks have an opportunity to add to the discussion. So Josh, I think you stepped out for a minute. I don't know. Ashley mentioned that you might have some information. Well, when you were away from your desk, I don't know if you're in hearing range or not.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to step away to take a phone call from a constituent. Yeah, I actually am probably not the bullseye person to be a part of this group. And I actually was going to pass along this information to our facilities planning team. I think they've been a little more involved in working on the EV charger stations on the various county facilities. Our group operates and maintains the county road system. So
Okay.
there is some overlap, but you know, I at least wanted to kind of get informed enough to speak semi-intelligently. But I'm gonna loop in our facilities team too.
So
Can I update you, Josh? And maybe if you weren't able to hear did you miss what I just said?
Yeah, I'm sorry
Maybe.
about that.
Is that okay if I
Sure.
I
Sure.
really I'll condense what I said and all the extra fluff. So Josh, I'm from the APCD and I've been working with Lucas Janetsky from
Yeah. Yes.
And so what we've been working on with the county is we've been working on a plan to put chargers at county facilities, libraries, parks, etc., all of those places, and trying to maybe even fully fund them with our program and some other programs, and maybe even, and in some cases, maybe even have the county workers install them so that we can fund them at an even higher rate. We're just trying to find ways to make it as, stretch our funding as far as possible. And so he and I have been working together. And I guess Annie Seacrest, obviously you're familiar with her as well. She's working on, you're on mute. She's doing some EV study, I think, on some EV cost study. And I think what's going on is that they're waiting until the end of that study before we move forward with anything charging, if that sounds familiar.
Yes. Yeah. I'm somewhat familiar, but yeah, that Annie she's the person to be talking to.
Yeah. So that's where
Cool.
I think that's where the county stands. And so we have this great plan to put all these chargers in, hopefully fully fund them. And we're kind of waiting, I think, for for that study, but it's fine. We have plenty of funding and I'm ready to put them all in everywhere. And hopefully we're even kind of talking about putting some chargers in at like police departments at in like Los Osos and put in those what are those trucks the city of SLO has, the Lightnings, and use them for the police department, and then we'll have the chargers charge them because the police are interested in it too. So
Oh, good.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again. And so it sounds like Josh Lucas is kind of the key contact for the county. And we now have his contact information, so we'll be following up with him directly. There's some other questions that you may have some insights on. So incentives, are there incentives that might be, that you could recommend that could help? And the flip of that is, are there disincentives that could be removed? And this is for, both vehicles and chargers or anything, related. So, for example, promoting, free parking for EV drivers, or, in this case, free land for charging companies to site chargers at. Those are examples of things. If there's any other things that we haven't discussed, I want to make sure that gets included.
Okay, I uploaded one that I think most people don't know about. It's called the community. I did send it to him already, but called the Communities in Charge grant, which we can co-fund with our grant, and all local agencies can use it. It can be at parks. You get extra points for it. It's great. It's for level 2s, and it's for the chargers themselves, and it's prioritized for low-income areas based on that map I showed you guys. I also want to say that a grant that's not been previously available in our region, called the Clean Cars for All grant, is now being offered in our region, and it will give up to, actually they're combining the CVRP, Clean Vehicle Rebate Project, plus the Clean Cars for All state. These are both state grants for electric vehicles. They're saying it's a draft number, but maybe like 15,000, maybe more, for your older polluting car, if you're within a certain income. And again, they're still debating, or they're still determining this number, but it should come out in spring. And that with the EV, or the IRS credit, what's called the IRA credit, 7,500 plus other state, or 3CE, Central Coast. Oh, you know this, the Central Coast Community Energy Grant for your electric car too?
We met with them yesterday.
Okay, so they probably told you that, so I don't need to tell you that. It would make the cost of getting an electric car pretty much, I mean, and they have 0% financing for low-income communities. So it would make it pretty much, I would think it would make it about the same, or I don't know. I would have to do the math really, but I would think it's pretty close. And if we can, my perspective is if APCD can put in some chargers in there, and maybe some solar powered chargers, or maybe the city can put in some solar powered chargers, or we could work together, 3CE can work together in some of these low income multifamily homes. We could put in something so that, or maybe it's the electric vehicle car share in the multifamily homes, we could put in some ways for people to get around to save money, with obviously with gas, and they can get to their jobs and things like that, and save money with transportation. So I will be promoting that a lot in spring, probably on my free time, because it's not technically part of my job, but that's okay. So big stuff.
Hey, that is good stuff. And we're working also in a separate contract to 3CE on implementing some of their, not the vehicle rebate program, but on the charger programs for multifamily residential and commercial. Okay. Wow, this has been amazing. Let's see. I think we've kind of covered, the broad spectrum of these questions in general. Do anyone on today's call, I want to skip to the last question, which is, does anyone have any advice regarding more EV travel in, or, ways to reduce barriers, other ways than some of the great programs that we've been kind of going through today? Or in addition to funding support that we've been talking about, and also adding more charging capacity, is there anything else that can be done in the region that we should include in the plan?
I forgot to mention a huge thing, and I'm sorry to dominate the conversation, but this is really important.
But you gave lots of good content here, so keep going.
There is something called, and I think I may have mentioned it, and I did mention this to Tim. It's called Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program. I'll put the link here. It's required for most, I think all actually state infrastructure charging programs or EV charging grant programs. It's required for our program. The installers of EV equipment need to be certified in this program to qualify for our grant. I think also for Cali VIP, definitely for this CalStart grant I just shared. Same with NEVI. So everything. It's not that big of a deal. I've had people apply not having it, and then they just, before they start their project, they just take this quick certification online and they get it, and then they start the project and it's fine. But there are only 5 of them in this county.
Wow.
5 contractors, and yeah, and that's, yeah. So I've been trying to get the word out to contractors, and I've reached out to larger organizations. Like we have this bigger organization called Reach, I think it's called, who partners with even larger names than larger organizations that I know, to let the electricians know about this, because it isn't as well known as it should be, and it's going to be a big hindrance to applying to all these grants if not everybody can apply because they're not qualified. So yeah.
So basically one of the barriers is essentially a lack of EV, whatever it is, the EV, those certified electricians is a hindrance, and it's going to delay projects potentially, and also potentially increase cost.
Yeah, it doesn't have to, and it's not a hard, like I said, it's not a hard thing to do. I was actually working with the county to get it done too.
Mm-hmm.
In the case that they went that route. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Good. Well, that's a great, thank you. One of the things
That's
I really
one thing,
appreciate is you're really bringing a lot of stuff all together. So this is really helpful. Okay.
I should probably add that the SLO Climate Coalition, we primarily do promotion and outreach and that sort of thing. So we just engaged with the College Core program at Cal Poly. So we have a fellow college student that is going to be working with us specifically on outreach for getting property owners, workplace employers, things like that, showing them the benefits of installing workplace charging and get them educated about all the different incentive programs available and that sort of thing. So we've got a outreach component that will help all of us.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else on the topic before we wrap up? Okay, well, first of all, this has been an incredibly insightful and productive harvest of information. I really appreciate, the folks today and your contributions, both to the work that you're doing, just hats off to you for really advancing the cause of transportation electrification in the Central Coast area. And I guess in your case, Ashley, in the in the Central Valley as well. You really provided us with a lot of material to work from into the plan. And I'm really excited to know what's going on in the San Luis Obispo area. So that's really exciting. We are going to take this information, we're going to combine it with the data that we're collecting from Streetlight on travel patterns, as well as the input from Social Pinpoint. We are going to then develop the next, we're currently working on sort of the analysis which addresses both these barriers and then also recommended solutions. And again, this has been a great source of input for that, which we really appreciate. We're going to try to wrap that up at the end of this year, and then so that we can complete the plan by the spring of 2023. So the timing of some of the programs that you were mentioning are, we're right on the cusp. Hopefully we can get as much of that information in before we complete the plan as possible, because I think there's a lot of really relevant information. If other things come along, and Ashley, you and Lucia as well, you both, and I think we will chase this down from your colleagues. But if other things come along during the process, definitely reach out to us. You have the URL for our website as well as Social Pinpoint. So those are certainly insights. You have our contact information, I believe, as well. And I will put mine on here right now. And then Sarah's going to talk a little bit about the process and the schedule.
Yeah, let me, what's up with my camera? But you can hear me. So here's the schedule. Of course, it's a little off because this is our original schedule before we actually had our kickoff. So you can see we're right here in the outreach and engagement section. So doing our different outreach to all of you lovely folks and others. So we are just wrapping up the task 2 information evaluation and collection summary document. And then next we will be, it's kind of funny, these appear to be a little out of order because we need to take all this outreach and feed that into our analysis of existing conditions. So we have the existing conditions of where stuff is, what's standing today, and then talking to you all will help feed into our analysis. And from there, we will put it all together and develop a draft and start to get feedback on that, and then finish the final plan and get it all done and get it approved.
All right, Maya, anything else to wrap? Okay, maybe she's not even on the call. Anyway, well, thank you all for your time today. Great input. I think this was extremely helpful. We really appreciate your help and your time.
Thanks all.
Have a
Thank you,
great weekend.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.